in Amsterdam. How do you get your furniture into this house? Because I know what it's like climbing a freaking ladder.
Have you ever seen somebody get their furniture into apartments here?
Well, someone told me that's why some of these buildings have these hooks. People must have really heavy couches, because that's obviously why the buildings are leaning into the street. Like,
with all of the touring and with all of the travel, where is your personal life now? Are you rooted? Do you feel rooted? Do you have a partner?
That's so funny when you think of it from the Australian perspective. When someone says, "Are you rooted?" I'd say, "I'd love to be rooted," because that's just a whole nother meaning. Have to be careful.
I'm Zach Newmark. This is Damn Yankee. And over here is South African viral comedian Kevin Fraser. 10 years as a comedian.
10 years. 10 years. Can you believe it?
That's amazing. And you're here in Amsterdam as part of your European, section of your tour.
European section, yeah. It's absolutely exciting to be here.
Yeah, so we're recording this on May 15, which is actually the day that you're performing at the Tobacco Theater. But what are the dates that you have coming up later in May and in June that people can check you out?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, next week I'll be in London, so super excited about that. Bournemouth in the UK as well, down on the coast. And then I'll be in Manchester, so I've got to finish up there as well. And then I'll be back in the EU in the end of August, beginning of September.
Excellent.
To finish up some new dates just around the Mediterranean, between Greece, Spain, and Portugal, and even Cyprus. And then New Zealand and Australia coming up in July and August.
A few years ago, you did a special that you put out, where you have a bit about Greece specifically, and all of the jokes that you make about Greece and talking about it, everything that you joke about in that special is like every reason why I love going to Greece. It's so great. You pick up a lot of these different cultural aspects,
yes,
and kind of intertwine them into your comedy. What is it from your background that actually gives you the talent to do that makes that part of your comedy?
I think I stumbled upon that like by accident once I started touring internationally, because you've never been to these countries. You don't know how you're going to approach it. But I know that with observational comedy and satire, I'm going to have to find a place somewhere. So being South African, I think added a lot of fuel to my fire. We have so many different languages in South Africa and just Africa in general. And you pick up all these nuances, all these sayings, all these little quirks that you take into a place. And I'll give you an example. In Greece, when I went there for the first time, I remember going into a store, like a 7-Eleven kind of convenience store, wanted to get a bottle of water. As I walk in, there's like a lady behind the counter. She's like, "Yassas." And I was like, whoa. Now, yassas in South Africa can be like street slang for like an expression of like, wow, like it's hot, or just an expression of some sort, but can also be used in a bit of a frustrating manner as well. I didn't know it meant hello in Greece. So I'm like trying to get my water and everything out the fridge, and the lady's like, "Yassas." I'm like, "Yassas what, man? Like what's going on?" And then when I went out, and this guy walking his dog walks past me, and then he's like, "Yassas," and I'm like, wait, this must mean something that I don't understand. So I check it out, and then you quickly learn, and then bang, it also becomes fuel in my show.
Yeah,
to have that. So you learn this in every place you go, and I love being put in the awkward spotlight, because that's where the comedy will come from on the streets. So
we were talking before the camera started going that these European dates that kind of came together really fast. That you just started booking them even 2 maybe 3 months ago at most. They were replacing dates that you had in the Middle East, where things are just absolutely
spicy.
Perfect for comedy right now. Not really, but
yeah, exactly.
With that smaller amount of preparation time, where do you find the local bits that you want to drop into your different shows on tour if you don't actually have that much time to prepare your sets?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, fortunately now at this point, this is like my 5th visit also to Amsterdam. So you have a bit of a familiarity there. But I always have this rule of trying to be in a city for closer to 2 days before I do a show, and then just go out and live just like embed yourself and laugh here and just observe. And I'm always doing that anyway, as part of who I am, is thinking and just observing how people live. And then I go, how can I bring that into the show here? Mm-hmm. I mean, I've already almost been killed by a bicycle like 5 times in this city, and it's like, come on, Kevin, you know this. Like, this is not your first rodeo in Amsterdam, but it gets me every time. And then you're like, well, how can I put a spin on this time? It's like nobody, it's a whole way of life here. I'm looking the wrong way. You think about navigation. So, and it's always the day-to-day things, mm-hmm. That you got to bring in quickly and use that in your shows as best as possible. So yeah, it can be harder sometimes, but you got to go in, like, just soak it up and then try and expand on that as quickly as possible in your show.
What are some of the bits about the Netherlands and about Amsterdam that you try to drop in, or that you're looking to drop in on this show, aside from almost getting murdered by bicyclists?
Well, aside from that, like, I mean, there's so many things that get me here. Like, I'm obsessed with the little cars, by the way. I mean, I feel like you could just I feel like that those windy cars you played with as a kid, where you used to like pull them back and then they'd like dash off down. And with times like these, with the fuel price, right? Even better, come to Amsterdam and have like a tumble-dried version of a smart car and then just chuff around in that. It's fit for probably me and one avocado. That's about it. But I mean, if I certainly lived here, I've always thought about that. Like, especially now being in Australia a lot, like, it feels like the country was made in the last hour there. You come here, there's history. The buildings, some of them look like they're going to fall into the street any second, but it's just the way things are here. I sometimes sit looking at like someone on the 3rd floor and I go, how did you get your couch into your apartment? These are the worries I have. In Amsterdam. Like, how do you get your furniture into this house? Because I know what it's like going up the staircase at my sister's, and it's like climbing a freaking ladder.
Yeah, because your sister lives here in Amsterdam.
Exactly. And it's like there's just everything is, and that's how buildings are here. And
have you ever seen somebody get their furniture into apartments here?
Well, someone told me the last time I was here, they said that's why some of these buildings have these hooks on the outside. I said, well, okay, that makes sense. They like actually have the pulley system and they hoist it up. Then I'm still like, what? Do you just take off the windows and pull it through the windows? And I thought people must have like really heavy couches, because that's obviously why the buildings are leaning into the street, because like people are choosing the heaviest couch to bring into their house. So yeah, it's crazy.
I just saw somebody literally drop a washing machine out of the 1st floor.
Okay.
Because they didn't do a very good job with the pulley.
So that's why there's a refrigerator lying in front of my sister's apartment right now. I was like, who just leaves a fridge there? Okay, that explains it. Yes.
Your tour that you're doing right now is Decadence, because of a decade as a comedian. What's different now from 10 years ago when you were first starting out?
Sure. So much. It's a huge opportunity to reflect on these 10 years as a comedian and content creator. And I think the biggest thing is how I've evolved on stage as a stand-up comedian versus what I do in the world of my content online every day. Because a lot of the comments I've received over the years from people that come to my shows are like, man, absolutely love your content. That's what got us here today. I do a lot of character-based work, sketches and stuff, but you can't bring all of that onto stage. It's a theatrical environment now, and it's live performance. So I've had to find comfort in that space, and how do I bring the world of what people love and still deliver that on stage? So that's been the biggest process for me to unpack over the last few years. So I'm now a lot more comfortable on stage. I can just be myself. Not that I was never myself, but I think initially I brought a lot of those characters quite hardcore into the show, and it was very performative. But now it's like I've entered a new phase where people connect with me deeper. I'm just spilling the beans on life as we know it and observations, and it offers 2 different worlds to my comedy, I guess. So I think that's definitely a big difference now than earlier. I think as a comedian, how you mark yourself and how you're progressing as well, because I didn't do the traditional thing. I didn't do the circuit. I haven't been a gig performer, but I was when I was a DJ, because I was a DJ for 12 years prior to going into comedy. And I think I swore to myself, no, I'm going to create my own show. I've done the hard yards as a gig performer, but I just want to take it to a new level with that kind of undertone and unpack it into a new show. So I think I've grown in that space and using music and physical theater to differentiate myself. But as an actual comedian, when you mark yourself, you kind of look at things like recall, like how do you bring back certain hooks from earlier on in the show, or carry a theme all the way through. And I used to get so frustrated with myself. Oh, this is not working. It's not going. But it can only come with time. And yeah, that's the beautiful thing.
Was that kind of frustrating for you going into comedy after, you'd done a decade or more working as a DJ?
Yeah.
Which on its own, is very much an art form also, and the method of performance as a DJ is also very challenging to keep an audience's attention as well. So here you had just spent 10 years doing that, and getting to a level where you were performing with some of the highest earning DJs internationally, and then in a way you're kind of starting over and doing it all over from the beginning again. So there must have been moments of frustration at some point.
Super so, because like and you also you gotten used to that world. I was used to performing at certain gigs as a DJ. I was used to, and then when I'd gone overseas, I was initially studying, and then I was like, let's have a clean slate for a bit. And then no one knows you, no one really cares. And now all of a sudden it's going from the DJ world of being Spin Doctor, as I was, that was my DJ alias, to just being Kevin Fraser. I was like, this is a pill to swallow, because it essentially was starting again. But the same journey still existed there emotionally. I think what DJs go through emotionally when it's connecting with the crowd, making sure you select the right song, maintaining a balance between the dance floor being full and bars getting full, and the club owner's happy and you're happy, everyone's happy. It's this big string of coordinating, right? It's the same in comedy. You got to have the right jokes, the right timings. So I appreciated that journey. But the very first time that I walked on stage for my first comedy show versus always going on stage and there's a dance floor rocking, it was weird. I was like, everyone's screaming like, yeah, Kevin, blah, blah. And then silence, sitting like us in a chair, now entertain me. And it's like, whoa, okay. So now all eyes are just on me. Whereas like from the dance perspective, you've got so many other things you can focus on.
Right.
Like your friends, drinks, bars, vibes. There's noise. Here there's silence, and everything is taken in the room, like from me. So that's, it was incredibly difficult, and it was a lot more nerve-wracking. But I think the point is important that when I was a DJ, I was still at the time missing the next level of connection. And I think I wanted this. I wanted the dialogue. I wanted to speak. And so I considered radio for a long time, but just ended up in this now. So.
What are the aspects from your work as a DJ or your work as a musician, that kind of made it into your work as a comedian and your stage show as a comedian?
Definitely dance. I've always been a bit of a spontaneous dancer. I did study dance a bit throughout school and whatever, but I've always improvised that. And I thought, how can you bring that element of movement and physical storytelling back by music, or even just cinematics, or using audio in general to support a live show? Because I've never actually thoroughly enjoyed watching traditional stand-up where it's like a guy with a wide mic just going. Huge talent to do that, but I just wanted like more. I'm like, no, let's keep people going.
So if you didn't watch a stand-up comedy growing up, then what are your comedic influences?
Yeah, exactly. It was always actors for me. I really was obsessed. One movie in particular that I remember watching was Mrs. Doubtfire, with Robin Williams, and I was like so invested in that character that he portrayed as Mrs. Doubtfire, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. So I'd watch it over and over again, and how he would change into this character. I thought that was like fascinating. I love that form of acting and becoming the whole shebang. I haven't gone to that extent yet as Mrs. Doubtfiring myself, but then watched him in several movies, and he became someone that I just loved, his natural comedy style. Jim Carrey, another example of like embodying a character or several characters and just crazy. Eddie Murphy, same thing.
Definitely.
Cried in movie. I mean, he's had some slapstick films like Norbit, crazy. I didn't realize how many characters he actually played in that movie. So my influence definitely came from like actors.
I mean, it's amazing that you didn't watch stand-up comedy, but your comedic influences are three guys who 100% created their career from stand-up comedy, you know, before transitioning into film or TV roles. You know, were there any, you know, were you exposed to their work as comedians or just their work in film?
No, and just their work in film. And then I went and actually watched some of like Eddie Murphy's raw stand-up from like the 80s. He had these extravagant outfits on, and he was out there when he did his shows, and I was like, wow. Didn't realize the yards that these guys were doing. And I mean, even in learning about Kevin Hart's story, because I really love Kevin Hart. Incredible stand-up comedian, incredible actor, and to hear about his story growing up, and what he hustled to do, and how the level of work ethic he has, it's just like, that was super inspiring. And because a lot of these guys, you'd also, you know, they come into your orbit once they were at a level. You don't realize how long the night was for them,
right?
Prior to it. But I obviously then got into stand-up. I was like, I need to know about who's who out there, who's killing it, who does what. I got very into Michael McIntyre at one point, and then had the opportunity to go to his show. I got an email the night after my show in Scotland last year that he was performing at the Hydro in Glasgow, and I went to his show, and I was like, wow, like he blew my mind away, because he's exactly what you expect. He's like, when you have
very polished,
and like you have certain skits or scenes that you do that are okay to reperform time and time again. They like your hits. You go and see your favorite artist, you want to hear that song, like,
right?
You want to hear that song. And I think some people miss that with comedy, like, oh, you know, I've heard that before. Yeah, you may have heard that before. It's a freaking good hit, so you're gonna get it. Maybe deliver it a bit differently. So I got a couple of those, but yeah, he was just like impeccable, you know. But it's definitely come from more actors and stuff, I would say.
Did you have a chance to meet any of these comedians that you're talking about, or any, you know, or who are the comedians that, you know, you've gotten a chance to encounter face to face that kind of, you know, almost made you starstruck?
Yeah. Well, I saw Hart live in Sydney at the end of last year, and we got incredible seats. I felt like I was in the mix. So whilst I didn't get to meet Hart yet, seeing the hana around him coming on stage was like crazy. It was just, but also so like, it's normal in so many other ways. And I guess I'm always looking at things from like the production perspective as well, and I'm zooming in with so many different lenses. But no, I haven't met comedy idols just yet. Yeah,
is that kind of like your dream gig, is to do these sort of arena shows that Kevin Hart can, you know, Kevin Hart plays here, and he is at the Ziggo Dome, which is an 18,000 person arena. You know?
Yeah, it totally offers I mean, there's a sweet spot in holding, I mean, like a room like tonight is such an incredible venue in Amsterdam. I'm going to really enjoy that, because you can really work with the energy on that many people when there's a few hundred people in a room. But once you get to anything, and again, it's been a transition with my career. My biggest show I've ever done has been in my hometown. and we just got it right that year with, you know, the dates and just the motion of the ocean that year. And there were 2,500 people in one show. And as soon as I was getting ready to go on stage, I was like, wow, this totally feels different. I'm gonna have to give it big, like just big energy, and it's an opportunity for that. But you realize, wow, that's a crazy feeling. Can you imagine what that feels like when you're doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000? But with all due respect to guys that are doing the 20,000 seaters, in attending a show like McIntyre's or Hart's, where you're sitting in a position, strangely enough, at both shows, I had a position where I could see them do their thing and then look back on the big crowd. And I was like, this is effectively just like dragging the Excel spreadsheet like down a few blocks. You know, it's like it's your core audience, but times fucking 20.
Right.
You know, like the players change, the recipe is surely still the same, apart from being able to handle it with your own nerves and anxiety going on stage. 20,000 people, because you got 20,000 times the opportunity for laughter, but you also need a big roar because the silence will be deafening at 20,000 crickets as well, I'm sure. So you can't be playing like that. So what a thing to manage. Yeah,
I mean, you have a lot of physicality in your show. You've got a lot of these. Yeah, I don't want to call them dance breaks because that's totally. I mean, it's
they're fits,
but it's such a. I mean, it would be unfair to call it that because the way that you weave dance and music is very much part of the bits that you're doing. It's not like, you know, okay, we're going to take a pause for a second and you know, everyone shake their ass. It's, you know, it's really part of your show. So
yeah,
you know, I mean, at some point, you know, did you just want to do that, or did you have a thought like, okay, this is how I can do it?
I think so, because again, I'd sit down, I go, I've got to piece together this show, and the same way I would with the DJ set, it's like, okay, what's the vibe we're going for? What time are we playing? Where are we playing? Who's the demographic that's going to be there? Now we go into song selection and curation, and I always appreciated the element of bringing a show. And then the one year I started watching a lot of the Tomorrowland curation at play, how they would bring DJs on with these incredible intros and performance, and a lot of it was structured because a lot of their sets had to work together with the pyrotechnics and everything like that. And I was like, we can dumb that down a bit for me and create like an intro, so there's excitement. I come on stage, I do this whole thing. And I mean, not to mention that in my shows, the hour before when people are coming, there's a whole pre-show like montage and experience that people watch that kind of builds up the energy. And
do you do that instead of an opener?
Yeah, although like some of the bigger shows, you obviously still got your openers and give people like the floor, and that's epic as well. It always helps. Otherwise, then I do like, it takes me like 10-15 minutes, and then you got the audience popping.
But you're this pre-show thing that you're talking about, I mean, it's really like, you know, I mean, it's a whole DJ set. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I actually do character-based DJ sets off the green screen and like bring them in, and I do different blocks. And sometimes I listen, especially at the bigger shows, where people are responding in the crowd before I go on stage to which segments. And I'm like, oh, it seems like we got a bit of those people here, a bit of these people. And then it gives me a bit of hope in which direction I can take on stage in terms of the jokes. But I just believe that, I mean, it's as simple as when you hear a certain song, or how that nostalgia plays out, and you're like, wow, that song just took me to a certain place. I know when I listen to country music, I go to a certain place in my mind, or if I hear an old 90s hit, I remember certain smells from my childhood or whatever. And I'm like, you can support all your comedy with that audio or bringing that in. And I guess just having experienced so much on the scene in music and clubs and events, it's just too much comedy to bring out. And then you go, well, how can I do that for everybody of all ages? You know, how do I do that for the older folks that come to my shows? I'll do like an 80s thing, or can I bring that to life through physical comedy without all the wigs and the dresses or the whatever you're wearing on a video? Can I do that in the theater? So,
like, what kind of crowds do you get at your international shows? Because they must not be the same type of crowds that you get in South Africa.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Obviously, because I'm South African, like have a huge South African following, and I say also Southern African because it extends beyond our immediate borders.
Sure.
And the diaspora everywhere in the world like follow me and then come with their partners and their friends, and before you know it, it starts to extend beyond that. So now, for example, in Australia and New Zealand, where I've got another big presence, it's Australians and Kiwis coming out, and that's amazing. And you'll quickly pick that up in a show, and then you start to divert your content whichever way possible, because it's hard when you got to feed your existing audience, but also cater to new people and paint stories in such a way that everybody in the world gets it, you know. And but barring that, you've also got the age difference. So I would say, depending on my platforms that I've had, I've got a huge following of like mothers and older women, and then there's my age group between 35 to 45, maybe just had kids, got young kids, so there's all that, like yuppies, and then you've got like young ones like coming in. So, and it depends where you're pulling from, right? So I get this huge range, and then some people are coming to the shows either as couples, girls' nights, family of 4. So you got to like play to all of that.
Yeah, and now at least your following on social media is easily in the hundreds of thousands. You know, maybe more when you start adding up from all the different platforms together.
Yeah.
You know, what are the jokes that actually started building up, or the content that actually started building up those viral audiences for you?
Yeah, like prior to the show, or like on. Like,
no, just in general. That what are the bits that you did in and putting out content that actually started to build up that following for you? Did you have that sort of first viral breakthrough moment?
Yeah. So, and it's quite interesting because once you've had that moment, you kind of start locking yourself in a box. You're like, oh, that works, I've got to do that. And now 2026, you don't know whether like you doing a tutorial on a protein shake is going to go viral. So you just got to stick to what you know, because there's days where I'm like, I put 45 hours into this video. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to slam. I'm laughing at myself because I'm seeing characters through this. And you wake up and the only person that's viewed it is your mom, twice. And then it's like, crap. Then you'll have some rant in the car about someone that's irritated you at the supermarket, and then bam, didn't even edit that, just shared it, and it's like gone absolutely nutty. So very humbling in that space. But I'd say the first one was quite literally called the Melbourne train ride. And it was my first viral video. I shared it on my personal page, which was back in the times when Facebook, we were all doing profiles and statuses and woohoo, not sharing cap videos yet. And I shared it there, and I was in Australia at the time, and I'd had this train ride in Melbourne, and I just rehashed the train ride.
It's so funny,
through it. And that was coming from
what do you say? Something like, it was such a funny bit. I'd have an easier time fitting in a jar of peanut butter.
Yes.
Or something than fitting in the train car. Is that what you said?
Easier time fitting a jar of peanut butter than I did inside that train. That was like, flip. It's like taking me back to 2015 or whatever it was. And it's just like, wow. But as my lens was, in South Africa, we've got one train. It works pretty well, but it's like, it's a short distance for a high price. And it's like, we don't have that access yet of what you would get with a really good public transport system like you would here in Amsterdam or in Melbourne. And it's just like, wow. So it was so fresh for me, painted experience, then boom, it went nuts. And this Angolan boxer, Damate Pena, he was someone with a huge platform at the time. He stripped my video and re-uploaded it onto his platform, and was like, dude, this guy is like, he's got Africa stuck in him and blah blah blah, and like, watch this. And it went viral on his platform, and at the time it was like 1 million views, and I was obsessed over that. And the one day I just was going through all the comments, and boom, there was a comment there that said, there was a guy that's like, this guy's so funny, where can I get tickets to see him? And I was like, tickets to see him? Like what? Like a show, like a comedian? I was like, I've never thought about that. Immediately I created a Facebook page, and it's like I was like, every Thursday I'm going to share videos like this now. And I think I rode that to the bone, and then realized a couple of years later, hey, you can also just do so much more than that, like just comment on everyday life. But then videos were 3-4 minutes, people watching them. Now we're in a totally different format with reels and stuff like that. But that's what I did. And then it's like, now I've got 500,000 followers through that page alone, just consistently putting out.
What was that a strange transition going from, like 5-minute skits to 30-second Instagram reels?
Yeah, I think your mindset had to change. Like, you start getting fed all this stuff. If suddenly TikTok becomes a thing during the pandemic, that was this pivot of panic for me, because my career was on one trajectory. Bam, events and entertainment wiped off the table. What do we do now? Best thing I can do is just content. Blew up a bit on TikTok, but I didn't like that whole world because I thought there was just so much crap out there. And I was like, no, quality over quantity. And then Instagram was like, yo, we're doing reels. And I'm like, this is a lot. What do I have to create content now for each platform? What do I do? And I realized eventually you can just start creating shorter versions of what you already do. So technically making it easier, but we now live in a time where those first 2 seconds are more vital than anything. You've got to hook people in with a few seconds. And it's like, it never used to be that way. People give you a bit of a chance, but it's just so easy to just go, I'm done, not entertain me,
Yeah, and I think probably a lot of people would question even if it's 2 seconds.
Exactly, unless it's like your existing loyal fan base that are like, I like Kev, I'm gonna at 30 seconds in, he's gonna drop something, I'm gonna watch till 1.5 minutes, there'll be something at the end, there's trust there. But if you're also trying to grow new audiences, it's hard. Like, people are like, why must I stay? So for me, it's sometimes been like wearing something ridiculous, capturing people's attention through something, but you don't always know what that's going to be, right? So yeah, it's a huge transition. And then YouTube came out with shorts. It's like you just had to constantly adapt and grow.
Did your comedy change during the pandemic? Because you were talking about making that shift over to doing more short form content. Did the comedy itself actually change, or how did that develop for you?
Yeah, I think so, because although I've always stuck to my recipe, I think that during those times, you now had an opportunity for bigger growth and you had more eyes on you than ever before. Your content circulating. So I had my second wave, I guess, in the pandemic and during the lockdown, everyone's at home. But I think it was so hard to be the person that people would turn to when you're also feeling stressed. You have anxiety, you don't know what's happening in the world, where it's going, and I'm like, I've got to keep my head straight. So there were times where I would rant and do like comedy and stuff about the situation, and it seemed I was a lot more angry and frustrated than I usually would be. Like, but shit, like, so opinions were getting out there, and then it's like, then as soon as that happens, the door opens for like the wrath of keyboard warriors going like, I disagree. Like, I just disagree. I don't have a face, but just I disagree. So yeah, but once I would do a hit or a piece that was a classic Kev moment, and it goes nuts, then you realize very quickly, hey, this is as simple as this. People just want that part of Kev every day.
At what point was it that you started really leaning into the different voices that you do? Because people who maybe don't know your comedy or are just sort of getting into your comedy, you'll do voices from different regions of South Africa or, different walks of life of South Africa, Americans, you'll do Greeks, as we talked about, but all over. So, at what point did you just kind of like lean into that?
I think especially in the beginning, I had so much content out there that was in this narrative of my childhood, because I grew up with my Gogo, as I would call her, Anna. She was like a second mother in my home, and very common in so many South African households, where you'd have this other motherly figure working in your house all day, every day. And we had such a bond. And I felt like she existed, her voice, everything, and what she would teach me existed in me as a person. So often when I would do things like cleaning my own house or going through my own stuff, I would remember what she would say or whatever. So it often came out in a response in my videos and content. And I think some people questioned that at the beginning. They're like, wait, who's authentic Kev? Like, what's the story? But when I realized, and I think it was a confidence thing, going, hey, like you can do so many characterizations and observations on your real life situations that you've experienced, and you can deliver them with embodying that full character. Like, let's go, let's push that. So I think that took a couple of years once I started like taking it a bit more seriously and setting up a studio and going like, this is my creative space. And now, I mean, it's like I'm going nuts on it, like pushing it to the limit, you know, in what you can do. And I was more obsessed going like, if I'm going to do it, how can I do it so accurately that there's no room for error? That's just a personal challenge. Yeah.
How does Anna actually come out in your storytelling?
Well, I share stories that I've had with her, and I think it echoes a lot of stories that people relate to. Mm-hmm. The banter, like my dance, like that was us, you know, so I bring that out on stage. Comments, just the attitude and demeanor of South Africans. We can be very loud and outspoken about things, and we're extremely sarcastic and very dry. And I think it's because we're all torn by different circumstances in our own world, and we live in a country that's got a hardcore government that's like, you know, there's always something. That's why we have this saying, it's just another day, because you wake up and it's almost like, so what? So mm-hmm. what is it going to be today? Even though the world at the moment is kind of like that, where we're all waking up going, what's going to happen today? It's always been like that in SA. And so we're united, you know, throughout our differences, and that extends across languages and different cultural experiences we have, our food, and it's what makes it such a beautiful rainbow nation. But I'm like, let me echo those stories and let me put that out there to the world. And that's why I think I've tried to be an ambassador in that sense for South Africa. I mean, it's important to give people context, and on the global stage, that's how I do. I give people context of something to make comedy out of it so that everyone can get it. Because a lot of people be like, oh, you have to be South African to get it. No, you don't. You just got to set it up correctly.
Right. I mean, that would be, you know, we were talking about a video that you did. I think it's called the Honorable Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Which in one way, it kind of feels like you have to be South African to get it. And on the other hand, it's just so insane that, you know, in an argument in a parliamentary context where one person gets up, you know, and refers to a colleague as a Teletubby while directing, you know, to the chair of parliament, you know, absolutely. Whatever this Teletubby, you know, I don't know what that Teletubby had to say, and this party's party leader's a sellout, and that whole thing. And it, you know, it devolves into like this ridiculous argument that they're just, you know, is no choice but to have a comedy in it, right?
100%. I mean, I was watching Australian Parliament not so long ago after just absorbing so much Parliament in South Africa on YouTube or whatever. I'm like, this is the most organized chaos. Like, you know, it's like everything's together, and the Australians are like, yep, and then you have the floor, then you have the floors. Not too much butting in, but then when they get heated, they go at each other. But I'm laughing at that because it's a sheer contrast to everything we know. You know, we will pipe up at a random moment because this person told me to sit down and shut up. And it's like, it's the fact that you told me to shut up. I rule in this house. This is not allowed. And then the chairperson will carry on. They said, no, point of order. This person stood today here and called me a Teletubby. And that was a hook that went viral on little memes and stuff around South Africa about one honorable parliamentary member calling another honorable parliamentary member a Teletubby. And that went for like 10 minutes. It's like, guys, we have to talk about electricity. We have to talk about water. We have so many things to talk about in this country. But this one called that one a Teletubby. So then I ate that and I made it like a viral meme with the music and everything.
And cutting in the Teletubbies.
Exactly. And just I guess the essence of it behind the comedy is actually just like, let's just dance it off and have a lovely day. And I think it might be worth even saying as to learn from it. Like, we have a term in South Africa when South Africans get to the 1st of December. And December the 1st marks, it's like an opening ceremony to what we call Ke December. And it's like, it's not just a festive season month, it's a lifestyle. It's like anything goes. It doesn't matter what time of day, where you are. You see something ridiculous happening in the street, the shops, like at 2 a.m. at a bar, whatever. You just like, December, it's a lifestyle. We're so overridden by circumstances not going according to plan that by the end of the year, we give up and we go, you know what? It's December. Let's just live for the moment. And it's every day. So, and I was like, I don't think many countries do that at all. Most people are like, I've got Christmas off with my family for 5 days and that'll be it. Whereas we do 400 days of December.
Right.
Full tilt.
We talked about a couple of these bits that got you sort of, your early audiences in comedy, with this tour that you're doing now, because it's kind of celebrating your 10 years doing comedy.
Yeah.
Are you bringing back these kind of best of bits, or is it, more new work? What's the connection with the 10 years?
Yeah, definitely. I think it is an opportunity to bring out those hits that have worked. Also stories that I haven't shared from my travels over the years, random bits and pieces. And it's also a chance to kind of reflect with people of like the old and the new and what the next 10 years, I suppose, means in my career. Because there's been a lot of go with me, grow, next. But it's now also to show that appreciation and gratitude for the journey so far. Because you can get very caught up in what's next and what's tomorrow, but to actually look back and go, flip, like you've done a lot, you've been to a lot of places, very lucky. How can we bring all of that on stage? But it's also a bit of a connection between like the nostalgic version of me as a millennial that grew up with technology. Mm-hmm. Now we're living, AI's gone crazy. We've got so many distractions. There's like a longing for that piece from my youth that I try and bring in a cool, clever way with the modern day world. So that's been the most exciting part of it for me, because you get to teach youngsters in your shows, like, hey, like you're lucky now with what you have access to. And you get to have your older following going, flip, that I remember that, or I remember dealing with the Walkman, or like having a Sony Ericsson as my first phone.
Right.
It's like, and you bring all of that alive in your show. I've said, like, I spent all my afternoons paying money to download ringtones that sounded like the real song back in the day. And now my phone's been on silent for 15 years.
Right.
So it's like, that's a lot of money lost,
My kids will never know the trauma of having like a portable CD Walkman as being what you're playing music on in your car, and getting to the point in your favorite moment in your favorite song, and then going over a speed bump and never getting the track back.
Oh my gosh. Or having to go for I love running, and then like to go for an afternoon run with like a CD spinning on your hip. And it's like, you get to the chorus and it's like, ja. You're like, no, not now. It's like, crikey. All of that, cell phones. And
so is this really, a chance for you to take a look back, or, you tour extensively. You've been doing this, for 10 years as a comedian, but for 12 years before that as a DJ. So we're really looking at a career of 22 years of traveling gig after gig after gig. Are you going to stop? Are you going to slow
down?
Are you going to, what are you, because you're in your mid 30s, right? You're 36, I think, 35. 11 years younger than I am. No, wait. No, sorry, like 13 years younger than I am. My head's stuck in my mid 40s. I'm actually in my late 40s. But, are you going to hit that point where you're sort of like, I just want to lean back and enjoy where I'm at right now? Or is it going to keep being this constant on the move for you?
I mean, I love being on the move. Keep the flow there. I think performing is always going to be important. I know what it's like in the beginning of the year when you haven't toured for a while, and then you do those first few gigs, and you'll still do a good show, but you will go off and go, oof, like it's good to be back, you know, and get that going. Because when I'm on tour and I've done 4 or 5 shows, then like I'm just on autopilot come shows after that. So to always have that stage time, I think, will forever be important. But I think this year was the first year that I came out of last season, and we only got going in April. And I said to my manager, I said, I'm still so tired. Why am I so tired? And it does catch up with you. It's the travel and the lifestyle and all of that. But you can manage that. You know, that's been also something I speak of in my shows, is how I've evolved in that space, to be healthy and fit, and to treat it, you know, like I do with my training. So essentially the stage has become my sports field, and this is my sports, and I'm now championing everything it does to survive in that space.
Is that new for you?
I would say so. I think there were years as a DJ, I was enjoying the party side of it. I was.
No.
And
not in the DJ world.
Like, you know, I was just like, you know, voice noting, like, yeah, man, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm at the airport, sunglasses in. It's like, yeah, we got a coffee and we're going here. It's like, that's only cool for a little bit. And then it's like, no, like you've got to treat this like a proper job, which it is. And then you're able to have the early mornings and the flights and stuff like that. But my manager did come to me at the end of last year, and we were on tour in New Zealand, and he was like, I just ask that, like, can we just maybe do like mid-morning flights, afternoon flights? We don't need a flight at 5 a.m. I'm like, seize the fucking day. Let's go. Let's go. Seize the day. Then I was like, you're right. This is why I'm stuffed before we go to a show and do sound tests. It's because I've been up at 6. So now I've like changed my rituals a bit on show days. I'm super relaxed, like don't do much.
Yeah.
To prepare and cope with that. But next year, I will be pulling back a little bit on as many tours, and the cycle will become a lot wider than such a heavy flow in a year. And I'm launching a new platform on the 1st of September called Gym and Tonic, which is, I guess, as you can hear, it sounds like gin and tonic, but I've brought wellness and entertainment, and I've merged it into an online platform, and I've created this movement-based platform to keep people happy, healthy, and fit, but entertained, you know. So it's a subscription platform, my own network, that's going to be available all around the world for people to be able to enjoy and stay fit at home, you know. And that stems from a place of having always been interested in the performing arts and stage as my sort of sport. I wasn't a rugby player, I wasn't a cricket player, I wasn't that dude. But I thought these people that work in this game, like, they work just as hard to stay capable for stage, you know. Even the guys that set up the stages and rigs for huge theatrical productions, like The Lion King, for example, you know, it's just what goes into that is so demanding. And that motivated me to create brands that like actually spoke to people in the art and entertainment. To give them a platform where you can express yourself. And I thought, what about the audience? You know, like, what if they wanted to be part of that world and stay fit and healthy, but conventional gyms were boring them, or certain types of classes were boring them? And I thought I could bring that world of wellness and fitness to the comfort of your own home.
So what's the premise? So, you know, what are you, if you subscribe to this platform, what are you actually going to get?
You're gonna get short classes, like quick hitting class, but it's gamified. So through AI, will guide you through that whole process. So you'll quite literally open it, log on, bam, play. You're instantly doing like a mini dance workout with Kev, or you can change your vibe and do a more of a conventional fitness class. But it's essentially me in different environments and other trainers, call them entertainers, who are speaking, guiding, and acting this out with you so that you can get moving and have fun and stay fit, quite literally. And you could complete a full class, like an hour's session, over a series of shorter classes within. Because sometimes people just want to move for 10-15 minutes. Sometimes people just want to stretch. So many people don't want to go to the gym because it's a mission, or they're self-conscious, or there could be a million reasons why they don't, or you have kids. But to put G&T on at home is like the whole thing we're going for.
Do you have anything specific for slightly overweight, late 40s journalist turned podcast hosts, specifically in Amsterdam and possibly on the east side of the city? Do you have anything for that?
Exactly. I've actually got, I've developed nothing wrong with high rocks. Love high rocks. People are high rocks obsessed, but I've developed a response called low rocks. So I actually ranted in the car. I did a video the one day about what is high rocks, like what is the obsession, where does this come from? There seems to be a huge social media like recording attachment to high rocks culture, which is interesting. And it went viral and nuts because in the video I said, I'm gonna just develop my own class and call it low rocks, because I was like, high rocks isn't for me.
What is high rocks?
Well, it stands for hybrid rock star.
Okay.
And I mean, it's like it's like a circuit based training style class that people go through a series of different tasks within that session.
Yeah.
And they have them all over the world. They're epic. Hundreds of people attend, thousands all over the world, obviously. But in between, you'll have these intervals where you run, and then you'll do like wall balls at elevation. You'll do sled pushes, pulls. You'll do bag carries. You'll do burpees, all these intricate things. But it's essentially a circuit. And I think it became popular because a lot of people can do it. You don't have to be like
I'm having like mini panic attacks while you're talking about this.
But I was like, can we do something like a little bit like just a tamer version of it? Because 80% of society also just want to move and feel good. That's always what it's about at the end of the day. When you've had a very good gym session or run, that's why I like running. Like after an hour of running with my own thoughts, I just feel so calm. It's about how you feel afterwards. So I was like, in this rant video I was like, I'm going to develop something called low rocks. Like keep your high rocks, but I'm going to do low rocks and make it a fun, entertaining, circuit-based, short format class. And but we call them shows because essentially it is like a show. I mean, the idea is that you can put it on and watch it and go, I'm not moving off this couch, but that's entertaining. And I think it's going to be a good idea for what people want, because over the years, that's the biggest feedback loop I've gotten from people. It's like, when are you going to do content for us where you teach us how to dance and teach us how to move? And the dance one has been a lot. And I thought, but I'm not a professional dancer. I'm not like a trained dancer. But it's like, hey, I did study this. I can move. I do improvise freestyle. And most people who claim that they have two left feet just want the confidence to wiggle on a dance floor or to be comfortable dancing with their partner. Can I bring that to them? Can I train them something? So we came up with a class called Two Left Feet. And it's a show where I quite literally will show people how to get through the basics. And it's always about the layers on top of that, right? Confidence, just finding it. And I think a lot of blokes will end up doing that class because, you know, there's an old saying, white men can't dance. Well, I'm here hopefully to prove that they can. When you're from Africa. Yeah, you know, or maybe a more comprehensive class where you can teach more moves, or just to bring that movement and fun to people's homes.
I mean, how big of an issue was health and fitness and lifestyle for you, you know, earlier in your touring career?
I think it was in my DJ days. There was a year where I think it was 2012, and I was working a lot of gigs with clubs and festivals in season, and season's always the conversation, which for us at the time ran from anywhere from mid-September to end of December. And I think in 1-2 week overlap, I had 49 gigs between over 2 weeks, because there were daytime gigs at hotels. The brunch culture and the day vibe was starting to become a thing. As social media started becoming a thing, so did like day vibes, and it just put more pressure on
you
the
can
DJs.
say day drinking, it's okay,
day tripping and whatever. And DJs would like you all of a sudden you're in more demand now through earlier parts of the day and still in the evening, depending what you're booked for. And I just, after that, I got really sick the one year. I lost a lot of weight. I was like, I was like vomiting and like.
Were you drinking a lot during this time?
I was drinking a lot.
Were you doing drugs a lot at this time or not really? So it's just the liquor and the sleeplessness and the hard travel.
Yeah, and it's just like you do a gig and then these people want to have a drink with you and you have a drink and this person's throwing you a shot and then it's tequila and then it's Jaeger, then it's like, then you're eating crap. And it was the eating crap. And then at the time had such a great experience. But then at the time I was also smoking. I smoked like a lot of cigarettes and I was in some cases like a pack a day. And one day I woke up and I was going sick and it was like you're fine at the time, but after you settle for a few days at home, I would just go into this like, whoa, like it's all catching up with me now. And I had a problem with like, I had an incredible cough that just scared me. So I went and like saw a doc about it and they're like, dude, you just can't you can't carry on like this. And that started speaking. I was like, I've got to change that. But that's very hard. But also, is this world of DJing in this space, like, is this healthy for you? Is this what you want? Because there's so many examples of people that have got it right, like major celebs that fly across the world every night. You know, those guys are doing it the way it should be done. So if you are going to choose that path, it's the only way you're going to survive. I
mean, you know, the DJ world has been struck with tragedy in the past, including, you know, you played with Avicii before who took his own life as well. You know, is this just kind of innate in the DJ culture or in the performing culture? You know, how do you fall into that, and then how do you get out?
Yeah, I mean, it's and you look up to guys and you see what's happening out there, and I think now we're more conscious than ever because of how technology and the internet's evolved, and we're so conscious of what is required to be healthy and take the right approach. When you look at like the young ones growing up today, there's like drinking culture is like dying down a bit, and I was like, were we like a bit like, you know, naive like back then, going like, oh, it's all fine. I mean, we used to go to my era of DJing clubs would be open from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock for like a few dollars to get in, free drinks for that period. I mean, I don't think they ever have that in Australia. Or maybe they did back in the day. I don't know.
Definitely not here.
But it's like, whoa, we're like actively promoting, you know, drinking and all these specials, and that's changed a lot now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they only didn't do it here because of the money. I don't think it was because. I don't think it was because of the alcoholism.
Yeah, I mean, even still now, you can walk up to a bar in South Africa and you're like, I'll have 45 tequilas. And they're like, great, here they are. There's no question of like, wait, but who you with? In Australia, it's like, okay, well, here's some peanuts and bring the 44 other people. And like, let's discuss this.
And here's some pamphlets.
Yeah, exactly. And like, these are the, you know, the people that will help take you home. And yeah, it's totally different. I mean, everywhere is different in the world, but yeah, it's I think there was a bit of naivety then, and like everything's gonna be fine, but you also don't think when you're in that space. And I was I mean, I started DJing at 15, but you know, by the time I was doing club work and festival work, I was like 20, 21. You think at the time, you know, like this, but I was young. Like that is super young. And you think, you got your whole world ahead of you. Now, if I had a big night, it's like, I will think about it for 10 days afterwards, and hangover lasts till the third day and
longer.
It all changes, but it's a lifestyle thing. You're like, that's not, if this is your job, treat it like a job. You wouldn't go to work and, you know, get pissed.
I wouldn't.
I mean, like to, but you just don't. It's not the way to behave.
No, I know. Tom, on the other hand, who's working at producing this episode, but you know, it's okay.
Jack over there.
No eye contact coming from Tom whatsoever at this moment. But
well, that's the hard thing, because like to that point, like I could have a few shots of tequila and a whiskey, and I'm ready to go and DJ, and I was like, I'm feeling the vibe, and you got to feel the vibe, and like you're on that wavelength, but I could never do that in comedy. I could never have a couple of whiskeys before going on stage. That sense of relaxedness or cloudy mind, like that's not good for.
Well, and also it's the type of comedy too, in your case, I think, because your comedy is, sharp, but also the pacing's so up and down and mixed, where, you're building, and then dancing and then not, and bringing the audience back up to that point. Yeah. It's kind of harder to do that when you're, a couple of drinks in.
Exactly. And to have the timing of things and coordination, it all becomes so much more heightened in comedy. Yeah.
Did your family recognize, the partying aspect of that as being a problem for you?
No. I think my mom was probably worried at times, like there's a lot of late nights and it's just a lot, but also like where does this end? You do this for the rest of your life, like and you probably think, what about family and all of that kind of stuff? At some point, you think like it's because it's not a normal job,
Well, yeah, but like I was going over your bio, and one of the people you performed with is Steve Aoki, and if anybody shows you could do this for your whole life, right? It's kind of him.
Yeah, but even with those guys at the time, I mean, I was like, I was a couple of hours, and I was just before Steve Aoki in my set, and especially being in South Africa, you got so excited that these performers were coming out to the country in the first place. So good that South Africa is being on the map like that. But I'm sure, like in places in Amsterdam, you'll have a festival coming up this summer, and he'll have like these big names in small print. And I'm like, that should be in bold, Comic Sans, MS 72, like, and there's like 5 of these guys, like Swedish House Mafia, then this one, then that. It's like, whoa. So we were getting these artists, but to understand, like you really felt the level that they were at, because I would finish my set and then his like team member would come on, or his tech guy, and it'd be like, cool. He'd prepare for Steve to come on, and it's like, I'm so excited. I'm going to get to like put my like arm around Steve for like 3 seconds, or maybe get a cake in my face, because he's obviously so famous for caking people. But I had to like kind of leave, and then he would come on. So it was like a whole separate experience. And I was like, one day I'll do that.
So Steve, if you're out there.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah. And I like watched him from backstage. I was like, I just opened for Steve from like far.
There's this guy dying to get caked right here.
Exactly.
On the DJ scene, were you kind of the funny guy? Was there a surprise or a shock that you were going into comedy?
Yeah, I was always like full of because behind the scenes for a lot of events I did, I was also moving tickets, and I was a bit of an ambassador and selling tickets for the companies I was working with, and so there's all of that, talking to people and dealing with people. Loved that side of it. And I was always the funny guy, like kind of with things we're doing with the promotion of events and marketing and all of that, and amongst my friends. But no one was ever like, you're so funny, you should take up comedy. But like my old English teacher once said to me in school, she's like, have you ever considered taking up radio, because you're quick and you've always got something to say? And I was like, no, that's hilarious. Why would I ever consider that? I'm going to be like a rock star DJ. And it's so interesting when you reflect back on that. But I definitely was a hype bunny. Like I had a presence as a DJ, and I would often go in front of the crowd and I would dance, and I would hype them up, and I'd pick up the mic and speak and say a few words. But I did get very nervous, mostly because I at the time I was so young, didn't know how to work everything to make sure. I mean, I think the first time I picked up the mic, I nearly like killed everyone with the deafening sound of my voice, because it was on like maximum. I was like, yo, it was like, okay, whoa. And I don't want to be that guy that just like talks through the chorus and be like, oh, so you'll never guess what happened to me last night. Shut up. We just want to dance. Thank you.
Right. What was the English teacher's name?
My English teacher's name, there was a couple of English teachers I had, but the particular one was Mrs. Ellis. And it's funny because we never got along, like outside of that. I think it was the devil's child in that class.
Have you ever reached out to her since, or had contact with her since you started doing comedy? Yeah.
No, I haven't. But she would, if she ever see me, she'd probably be like, yeah, I told you so.
Yeah.
Told you so.
Was comedy, was that a surprising transition for your parents, your family?
I think a little bit, yeah. But maybe not so much mom, because I shadowed my sister a lot, and my sister was a dancer. She was also like a talented performer. We did a couple of school shows together. I directed and wrote plays, and so we're in that space. She excelled in drama. I excelled in drama. I won the awards in school for it, and blah blah blah. So I think she knew, oh, he's gonna be in entertainment in some capacity. But
what is your sister doing in Amsterdam now?
She's here teaching, and she's now running an apartment and heading up her division. So she's got her boss pants on, which suits her, and she's loving it. And it's been a beautiful thing, because I've recently introduced her into my world as part of my 10 years. Because I'm like, hey, people, this is my sister. This is a huge reason why I'm actually funny, because she's hilarious, first of all, and I've shadowed her my whole life. And you can imagine, like, when you have that sibling relationship, there's all that material that exists from your childhood, which is definitely in my show tonight, because she's going to be there with her whole crew. So I have to bring that out. We had a lot of different responsibilities growing up, and we play on that all the time. So the reels we send each other are nutty.
Does she have any type of, well, I'm envy's maybe not fair, but does she have any type of, I wish I had done that, when she looks at your trajectory? I mean, here she had some background as a performer herself. You say she was hilarious. Does she kind of look at you and think, well, teaching was nice, but maybe getting out on stage was what I wanted to do?
Yeah, we haven't had that direct conversation, but we have had interesting conversations around, especially some of the future prospects and projects I'm working on, because she's a very talented writer and she's brilliant with all of that kind of stuff. And I've also always thought, I was like, oh, this isn't the end of any of those conversations. I think in some capacity she could come back into that space if she wanted to. I think I have asked her if dancing is something she misses, because she was seriously good. She's tap dance and modern dance, and I was actually her partner in certain shows she did. And she just always stuck out from the crowd. So if anything, I thought, I wonder if she would have ever wanted to run her own dance school or whatever. But she seems really happy doing what she's doing.
Between your sister's influence on your comedy, Anna's influence on your sort of, outwardness and abilities as a performer, you've talked a bit about your mom. Where was your father in all of this?
Yeah, so, the year that I went down to Australia to study, it was 2014, and then my father passed away that year, and he was really sick. He initially, when I started my DJ career, he was so concerned. He was like, "There's no ways this kid's gonna make money on this. He's gonna become like a drug dealer. I think that's where this is heading." He's just like, DJ, drug dealer. And then when he warmed up to the idea, I was actually coming, he screamed for me the one day from the lounge. I was like, what is going on? I think he was watching the Oz Open or something. And then, no, he was watching the cricket. That's right. He was watching a test match, and Sean Pollock from South Africa was bowling a ball like crazy. It was like Sean Pollock or John Zeros. One of them was bowling, because cricket's not my strong point, but they used to call him the spin doctor, because he could bowl a ball so fast. And then my dad just randomly turned to me, he's like, "What about calling yourself the spin doctor?" And I was like, that is so lame. Why would I? He's like, "Yeah, because you're gonna spin the decks and you're gonna turn the tables." It's like, they're turntables, Dad, but thank you. And then rolled my eyes, and I thought about it for the rest of the day, and I was like, that is actually the coolest name ever. So
God damn it, Dad.
Laminated it on A4 off the Microsoft 98 computer, printed the document over 4 business days, and laminated that with a UV lamp. And I was like, that was born. And so he was there and then he used to take me to every single gig in his car, because I had all the gear. That was before I was doing clubs and stuff. So he was very supportive in that sense. And he saw sheesh, you can actually make money, especially as a mobile DJ at the time. Once you started doing weddings and funerals and haven't done a funeral yet, but
there's still time.
We do celebrate death in Africa. Is the thing. It's like you can hire a mourner, but yeah, and he did, but I only actually went into comedy after he passed away. So there wasn't an understanding that was going to be the trajectory.
What do you think his reaction would have been?
I think he'd be amazed now. Yeah, because he always appreciated that when I was doing my thing in school shows and stuff like that. Even though he didn't understand that well, because he was such a brilliant sportsman himself, so he probably thought I was always going to go into that field.
What did he do?
He was a marathon runner, but in South Africa we have a famous race called the Comrades Marathon, which is essentially a double marathon. So it's about 89 kilometers. And he was like a 12 times, 6 times gold medalist. Yeah. So his best time would be like 5 hours, 16. So
for 2 marathons.
Several. Yeah. He got at least 6 golds. Yeah. So it would average between 5 hours 16 and I think 6 hours for.
Wow.
When he went on to silver medals.
I can't drive like 90 kilometers without pulling over to pee.
Yeah, he was a machine. And a lot of people that know the race will know the name Bruce Fordyce, he was always up there in the top runners with Fordyce. So yeah, there was like crazy his discipline with that. And he was good at other sports, and loved all of that. So, yeah.
With all of the touring and with all of the travel and with all of the, this sort of insane 20 years that you've been working, where is your personal life now? Are you rooted? Do you feel rooted? Do you have a partner?
That's so funny when you think of it from the Australian perspective. When someone says, "Are you rooted?" I'd say, "I'd love to be rooted," because that's just a whole nother meaning. But have to be careful. Route. So yeah, I mean, it is hard. I mean, it's hard to maintain like a relationship in this game. But I think it would have been way harder in the DJ world. Now it's just a situation if I go away on tour for a few weeks at a time. Sometimes you have the opportunity you can take your partner with, or you just you have away time. But I do have a good base in both Australia and South Africa, so it's a hybrid lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have a partner, a longer term partner?
No, not anymore. We did split up over differences. It was quite challenging. And that's the hard part, for some it's the being separated from your home country can be very, very challenging. I think I've gotten used to seeing the world and obsessed with seeing the world. Home will always be home, but I've been very comfortable and able to have a life overseas. I feel like it drives me, but every time, which is every season, I'm back in Cape Town. It's really hard to beat that city. It is to me the most beautiful city in the world. So it's always going to be like that for me, but it'll come. It'll come when the time is right, and I'll be able to build a family, and once I've put a few more rungs on the ladder, I'll get there.
All right. I got to ask, it's probably my last question, but I've been glancing over from time to time and seeing this tattoo that you've got with the King of Clubs and the Seven of Clubs. Of all the 2 cards to pick,
yes.
What's up with that tattoo?
Yeah. So they've all been done in a different city or country. But it was a bit of a cheesy tattoo. So I got the 2 cards done. Well, first of all, 7 is my favorite number. There's 7 divisions to my business and brand in the long term that I want to achieve. So it reinforced how important that number is to me, because my birthday is 7th of June coming up. And I was in Dublin at the time, and someone was speaking to me about the 7 shamrocks of good luck. And I was like, I should create I should create a set of cards with that so I can always be sure to play my best card. And Kevin, the king of the clubs, lol, that was just a cheesy inclusion. Kevin likes clubbing with his 7 shamrocks of good luck. So it was a good like fit for reminding myself to always be fun, stay true to who I am, and create your own luck, because I believe that we create our luck.
I mean, it certainly seems like you have, and I wish you the best of luck going forward. And with the rest of this tour, it's been just delightful talking to you. So, Kevin,
awesome.
Thank you so much.
This
is great.
Yes, amazing.
Damn Yankee is an NL Times podcast. The show is created by me and Peach Rizzo, and this episode was produced by Tom Lulofs, Marcus Engel, and Lara Bodger.